Yesterday we were discussing the laws of the 4 cups of wine. A couple of other halachos before we get into the actual Seder. So first of all, there's this concept about the Seder night of the Shulchan Aruch says, Zrizus b'tchilas Seder. You have to be ready to go Seder night. Not like somebody told me I don't want to insult them. I'm not here to criticize. I'm not here to be a hater. Somebody told me they get to their Seder and it starts at midnight, no matter when. No, my friends. No, my friends, not appropriate. That this is what the Shulchan Aruch says. The table should be set while it's still daytime, so that immediately when it gets dark, you could start the Seder. And this is one of the 2 nights a year where everybody was not allowed to stay in the base medrash. You had to go home. You can't delay the start. It's not appropriate. Get ready to start right away. It's a mitzvah to start the Seder because you want to get people involved. And the later it goes, the less likely people are to be involved. And now, ideally, you should make the Kiddush after nightfall. All this is based on the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so that's the first thing. Some people have leniencies to start a little bit earlier, but a lot of people are strict. And now there's also a practice to wear a kittel at the Seder. A kittel is a white garb that we wear on Yom Kippur. And I could wear the thing I wore on Purim. I think that would be appropriate. Yes, I'll wear it again. I'll wear it again. I get a rise out of people. Okay. Now, obviously, men and women are obligated in the 4 cups and in all the mitzvot, like we said yesterday, like matzah and maror. Okay. Now there is a practice. This idea of stealing the afikomen, I'm against that. I mean, I don't support it really. I just tell my kids just take it because I've seen too many times where it became like it took over the Seder. And like I say, I'm going to give you whatever you want. You want a present, I'll give you a present. But there isn't a strong custom of giving children treats. They used to give them. They didn't have candy back then, so they would give them nuts and like toasted grain, which was their form of their candy. So that the children would say, "Why are we getting this before the meal?" So you want to wake them up, but it can. You have to be careful that it doesn't overtake the main point. Yeah. I always understood right. So I'm saying I'm not into it. I'm just not. People do. I don't like make a big deal. I'm not there to be the Grinch that stole the Seder, but I don't like the whole idea of. First of all, I don't even like the idea of stealing as a symbolic message. I just don't like it, and I don't like this like hide and go seek game, and then people negotiate for the best gifts. It just to me it takes away from the spiritual power of the night. I feel like I understand what they're trying to do, so I put it out there, and I don't get involved in that at all. It's never been my thing. Yeah. I split the afikomen and I put it aside, but I also tell them you can use any piece of matzah for the afikomen. You don't have to use that specific piece. So I don't even really look for that piece because it gets all crushed and this and that. But there was a beautiful story I saw about the afikomen that one year that after a woman died, every year she used to take the afikomen and she would hide it above the fireplace. Nobody ever found it. And then after she died, they found like 43 pieces of matzah there. A very special spiritual of that she was hosting the Seder all those years.
I guess she didn't have nice.
It was very high up. They couldn't get there. Okay, so the laws, reclining. So after we do reclining, we'll get into the Seder. So the law of Haseba, it's called the law of reclining. So this is everybody has to recline at the Seder. Even a poor person who doesn't have a pillow, he should sit on a bench. And if he has no bench, he should sit on the ground. Like they used to do, like in the Middle Eastern lands, and he needs to recline. And if he has nothing to lean on, he should lean on the knees of his friend, and that's called a seba. Don't lean on your own knees; you have to recline a little bit, and you have to lean to the left like this, and you have the pillows and the blankets underneath his head. Now let's say you're a lefty, you're also supposed to lean to the left because the concept is that it's dangerous to lean the other way. What about, so then we go into the laws of who's supposed to do it or not. Then basically today, nobody's really strict that there are certain times. It used to be that there are certain people who you were in such awe of that you wouldn't recline, but you're supposed to recline. Which are the parts of the Seder you're supposed to recline? So, um, you're supposed to recline for the matzah, for the wine, and also for the korech part. These are the parts you have to with for the afikomen, and also you're supposed to recline for the first 2 bites you take of your meal. Yeah, you have to recline. Some people even say that you're supposed to recline for your whole meal. When you eat the brisket, the chicken soup, the kugel, it's supposed to be reclining. Okay. Okay, so hold on one second. Okay, so then, okay. What are the things that don't require the seba? This is the karpas. This is when you dip the karpas into the salt water. The maror doesn't require. And also, when you read the Hallel and the Haggadah, you don't need the Seder. Okay, now we go to, let's just talk a little bit about the the Seder plate. The Seder plate is this very powerful idea that there's actually a plate. Yeah, I can't think of another mitzvah where we have something like that. So that you're supposed to have the matzos and the Seder plate itself. And the concept of having a special plate at the Seder actually goes back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah in Tractate Pesachim on 114a, 115b talks about that they would bring the table in front of the person of the house, and then they would take away the table from him before they start the meal so that the children would ask. And that's why sometimes we cover the matzahs, we uncover, we pick up the Seder plate, and they used to have a table, and they would take it away and start the discussion. So what do you put? The Mishnah in Pesachim tells us what's supposed to go on the Seder plate. What's supposed to go there? Anybody want to say? Don't say an orange. There's no orange on the Seder plate. You know about the orange on the Seder plate. Okay, what's supposed to go on the Seder plate? So according to the Mishnah, you're supposed to put the matzah, the maror, charoset, and 2 cooked foods. Why did they used to put an egg? Because what they would do with the egg was the egg would serve as one of the cooked foods. So that's why that we had an egg. And they would also put the meat in the time of the Mishnah, the meat of the Paschal lamb.
The matzahs on the Seder plate?
Well,
Right.
Now we don't do it anymore, but in the time of the Mishnah they did it. In the commentary said that we're also put on the karpas and the vinegar or the salt water. Now, okay, what's supposed to be closest to how is the Seder plate supposed to be set up? How are we supposed to do it? Do you just put it down, even if it has everything listed there? How do you set it up? So here, what's the dominating principle to understand this? The dominating principle to understand this is ein ma'avirin al mitzvah. You're not supposed to pass over a mitzvah. By the way, this is a drasha you could say at your Seder. You're having a Seder. Who here is hosting a Seder? Okay, you're hosting a Seder. So you could say, like, does it really matter which way you do it? So the whole idea is you don't pass over a mitzvah. That the part that you're supposed to do it in order of the way things come to you. And that's a very deep idea that we don't miss an opportunity for spiritual opportunities. We don't take them for granted. I called up my children this morning. Just today, I called them up. I said, we're going to the eclipse. Not all of them want to go with me, but we're going to totality. Why? Because this is an opportunity to have, some people said it's a very special spiritual moment. We don't want to miss that opportunity. The next opportunity is 20 years from now. Ein ma'avirin al mitzvot. We don't pass over opportunities. And so therefore, the part of the Seder plate that you're going to eat first has to be closest to you. And so therefore, what should be closest to you? Which part of the Seder plate has to be closest to you? What? Which part do you eat first? Karpas, excellent. So the karpas and the vinegar has to be closest to you. Then, now today we don't do like this because our starter plates are too small. Then the matzos, and afterwards, what comes after that? The maror and charoset, and after that, the two cooked foods because you're not actually going to eat it. So that's the way the Ramah brings it down. But the Arizal, Kabbalistic, he has 9 foods on them. And so that corresponds with the 9 foods, with the plate, corresponds to the 10 sfirot that make up the presence of God. And so therefore he arranges them in the order of the sfirot. So this is Kabbalistic. So you have the 3 matzos, and that corresponds to Chachma Bina Dat, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Then you have the shank bone. That's on the right side. That's the Kabbalistic idea of chesed. Then you have the egg on the left. Then you have the maror. And then you have the charot. So he has the whole vision. You have to see it. So anyway, that's how the Arizal gets it. So now we've seen 2 deep ideas. You don't just put the plate down. It's all intentional. And then there's the third practice, which is the custom of the Vilna Gaon, and that is that after karpas, only after you dip the vegetable in the salt water. By the way, in my family, we do the potatoes in the ketchup, or potato chips in the ketchup. Why not, right? But only after, or French fries in ketchup. That's also a big winner. So only after you do that. After you eat the karpas, you bring then to the table with the 2 matzos, the maror, the charoset, the shank bone, and the egg. And the matzos should be in the middle, and the maror on the side of it, on the right side, a little bit above the charoset, and the shank bone should be on the right side, a little below, and the egg should be on the left side, a little bit below. And then you take the afikomen and you put it away, and then you leave behind 1 whole matzah and 1 broken matzah. And then you put the shank bone and the eggs underneath the matzos. Okay, he has a whole complicated thing. Anyway, so these are the different practices. What? The what? The horseradish, he has it on there. Yeah, you have to see the pictures. I don't have the pictures for that. But okay. So now, no, because some say that you need lechem mishnah. You need 2 matzahs. So if one is broken, you're not going to have enough. So you need to make the motzi on the 2 whole ones. That's what some say. Now this Saturday night, this year, oh no, the Seder's not on Saturday night, so we don't have to talk about that. Okay. So now we go straight to, let's skip the Kiddush because there's so much to talk about Kiddush and Shachianu. Now we go to, hold on one second. Now we go to the part of the Seder that's called Orchatz.
So the Seder plate is a separate mitzvah of mitzvah saseh, or is it?
It's not a mitzvah saseh, but the Seder plate is, it's not a positive commandment. It's not one of the positive mitzvahs of the Seder night, which is matzah, and there's a mitzvah of the 4 cups of wine, which is rabbinic, except for the first one. But it is Talmudic. The whole idea of a Seder plate is in the Talmud. So, okay. So now after we do the Kaddish, we come to the second part of the Seder, and it's called Orchatz. We wash our hands. Now, the person, you have to wash your hands before you do the dipping of the karpas, but you don't make a blessing. Now, by the way, here's a fun fact you could throw out to people at your Seder, that the Vilna Gaon said you're supposed to make a blessing before washing your hands for this one, but we don't follow that opinion. We don't follow that opinion. I guess he felt like if you're washing your hands, I don't know. We'd have to look it up. But that was, Mr. Brewer records the Vilna Gaon saying that. And now, so I guess he felt that this washing was of such importance that you were supposed to make a blessing on it. But even those people, now why are we washing our hands? Because we take on extra stringencies. And so there used to be, if there was a food item that was wet, it could contract tuma. So we would wash our hands to make sure that our hands are not tamei, because otherwise we could make that item tamei. Now this was a ancient practice which kind of fall away, but on Seder night we bring back ancient practices in order to, first of all, connect to the sanctity of the moment, and also in order to arouse curiosity. This is like that type of night.
Don't
So
we still dry our food today though, for that same reason?
yeah, yeah.
Isn't that a custom that's not still native to today's practice? They have to
There are some relics of that practice, yeah, but a lot of people aren't strict about that. But that's the main idea. That's the main idea why we're washing our hands. But there's always another idea that I always felt, which was that that before we pray, we're supposed to wash our hands. Before we engage in a spiritual activity, we're supposed to wash our hands and engage in that activity. So I always felt that it's to make a point that this is not just, we're not just sitting down for a meal. We're engaged in a sacred meal, a special activity worthy of preparing spiritually for the occasion. Can you imagine if we just dug our hands into the French fries and started dipping? No, we have to prepare spiritually for the moment. So these are some of the opportunities. Now, okay, now we go to karpas. Karpas, what do we know about the idea of the karpas? That's a kadesh orchatz karpas. So there's a lot to talk about the karpas. What do we say about it? So the karpas is, the practice is to look for the vegetable that was called karpas. Karpas it's an abbreviated form of the idea Samach Parach, meaning to say 600,000 worked with hard labor. But let's say you don't have karpas, because we don't know what that vegetable really is. Nobody really knows what that is. So you shall take a different vegetable that you could say a blessing of Borei Pri Adama. But the trick is you can't use a vegetable which you would be able to fulfill your obligation of maror with. So you can't use the lettuce or the wasabi, horseradish. So you have to use the vegetable that you're supposed to use a vegetable. Some people say, "Oh, can you use a banana?" Banana is not a vegetable. You could use any vegetable that you say Borei Pri Adama on, but it cannot be one that you fulfill the mitzvah of maror on. Those are considered by halachically, both of those are vegetables. So you could use a tomato, and you could use a cucumber, you could use a pickle, you could use a French fry, a potato, you could use celery, parsley, because we don't really know what the karpas was. It's not a word that appears in the Talmud. So what is the type of it? You take it and you dip it in vinegar or wine or salt, and you make Borei Pri Adama. It doesn't have to be a green vegetable. Well, yerek means, the word for vegetable is usually green. Okay. So what's the and then the other thing that you should remember is, because we don't make the blessing of Borei Pri Adama on the maror, so when you say the blessing on the karpas, you should have in mind for the maror. Now, how much of it are you supposed to eat? So here, some say you have to eat more than an olive size amount, and some say you're supposed to eat less. So either way, you're right, or either way, you're wrong. The reason why they say you have to eat less is because if you eat more, maybe you have to make the bracha achrona on it. But if you ate more, so that's one. Now, what's the reason why we eat it? What's the reason?
No matter what, at the end of the Haggadah, say break a pashas and you stand.
No, you don't make the borer in the first
They
place.
say benching and then they at the end.
Yeah, so you make the benching, and then afterwards you drink more wine. You drink. No, because the point is you're not going to you're not going to make the blessing on the bread for a while. So that's the issue. So you don't make a bracha achrona. Now, what's the reason why you make the karpas? So we want to encourage the children to ask. That's the concept. Nevertheless, somebody's sitting by himself and he has no children, he also has to do it. Somebody's eating the Seder by themselves. If anybody here is eating the Seder by themselves, let me know, because we can help find you a place to eat. But that shouldn't be the case, that people eat the Seder by themselves. So if you're planning on being by yourself for the Seder, let me know. And I know that there are a lot of people who would be very happy if they knew you were by yourself to invite you. Now, we already said that karpas is not something you recline for. This is based upon Kabbalah. Some say, the Shulchan Aruch says, some people say you're supposed to. So what's the source of the karpas? The source of the karpas is based again on the Mishnah. The Mishnah says they used to bring in front of at the table a vegetable to dip in the vinegar as a way of doing what's called paratapat, like an appetizer. And so you would eat, it's just like in, I guess, the salad course, like a fancy meal. They were eating the salad course. Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's a beautiful Haggadah. Let me just finish with this. The name Karpas comes from the early medieval commentaries, and so the Rabbeinu Manoach, who wrote a commentary on Maimonides, he wrote 3 reasons for Karpas, for the name Karpas. So he says this name has the letters of victory over Egypt, because in the past they would take this vegetable and carry it as a sign of the victory. The Mariel explains that Karpa stands for 600,000, Shishim Perech, and the Aruch HaShulchan writes that you're supposed to take an onion, a radish, or a potato, because you know why? He lived in Vilna, so therefore that's what they had. That's what they had. They didn't have fresh parsley yet there, so that's what he said. Okay. Okay. All right. There's a lot more to discuss, but it's time to daven mincha. You know, we could talk about this stuff for hours. Actually, we do on Seder night, but this year we'll be prepared. And if anybody's frustrated, Seder night, I have so much prepared, I don't have time. You talk now, you get to Seder night, you'll just have it all being incorporated. You don't have to, not some of your guests might not want to get into it. That way you'll be prepared by studying a month in advance. All righty. Shikoyach.